Welcome to Over the Back Fence. I'm Di Edwards.
And I'm Nicola Dale.
Well, we've been bosom buddies for nearly 4 decades. And look, honestly, we're not neuroscientists, psychologists, doctors or monks. We just love people and know with age comes wisdom.
So join us as we open our hearts, share our stories and hear from some of the most inspirational people in the world and have a laugh along the way.
Yeah.
Enjoy!
I'm just going to do a little,
tell us a little bit about
intro.
Lesley,
So, well, it's funny when I was writing the intro, of course, Lesley supplied some of the bio, but I was looking and going, I remember Lesley doing Rose Hancock. She's got the same surname, Lesley Hancock.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get into that.
Well, that's a good one.
So, going
Yes.
back in time, while studying to be a teacher in Armidale, she decided to take a very big gap year, and she actually never looked back. Funny in life when that can happen. It's the old intuition. She studied part-time with Hayes Gordon at the famous Ensemble Theatre down in Kirribilli. I love that theatre. And she discovered her true talent writing parody. And for those that don't know what that is, I looked it up on Google.
What's that, Di?
Because I honestly didn't. I knew what she was qualified and knew what she was good at.
Funny songs.
Parody. Yeah, funny song. And it says imitation of a style of a writer or artist or a genre with a comic effect. And I've got, well, she nailed that part. She would be recognised in many a TV series and has delighted audiences worldwide with her magnetic talent, humour and impeccable impersonations in her heyday, performing as Patsy from Ab Fab, one of our faves.
Love it.
Princess Di. And of course, my second fave next to Patsy would have to be Rose Hancock. They share the same name. Still can't believe it. Rose Hancock. We're talking to Lesley Hancock. Incredible. Julia Gillard was another one. And many more, including more recently, Melania Trump.
Oh, yes.
Stint with Qantas, sponsored by Qantas. Like so many fabulous women I know, led to her most celebrated show, Come Fly With Me. And, of course, everyone just laughs their socks off. It was unbelievable, which we'll get into after this intro because it's brilliant. And then amongst all of that, Lesley managed to become a mother of the most gorgeous human, a son called Angus. Finally, Lesley's acclaimed comedy and writing talents are a testimony to her continued success today as an international corporate musical producer.
Oh, well.
Oh, my God,
Exhausted.
I'd love to meet
Exhausted.
her. Love to meet her.
Well,
Exhausted for reading
welcome, Lesley. And I guess that's a wrap. I mean, I guess.
Thanks for that, Di.
Okay, let's go now.
I'll be
Thank you,
going now.
cheers.
Been fabulous.
I guess we call it a calling from mid-teaching when you take a gap year. Would
I'm
you call
still on it.
Would you call it a universal intervention?
Oh, I think so. Yes, I just remember being up there and then we do a prac teaching. I'd be prac teaching somewhere and the kids will be going, oh, my God, when is it, lunchtime? And I'm going, when is it lunchtime? When can we all get out of here? So, yes, I took a little gap year and I'm still on it.
I love that.
Yeah, I think you'll love it too.
Yeah.
But when you become a parent, the thing you say to your kid is you have to find something that sparks joy, which is, our new word, the Marie Kondo word, sparks joy. But that's it. And if you would have said it to your kids as well. And teaching didn't spark joy.
Wow.
And I had to find out what it was. And I knew it was going to be something to do with the arts.
Wow.
Something creative, something, whether I was acting or writing or performing or I didn't know, but I knew I had to get to the big smoke.
Incredible.
That's
I'm
where I
trying
came.
to connect the dots here. Like, you leave Armidale and you go and you study with
Hayes Gordon.
the
Yeah.
amazing
Incredible.
Hayes Gordon with I love the Ensemble Theatre, very dear to my heart. And then somehow you end up with Qantastic and really reading your bio, like how did flying with Qantas inspire you to further your career in the arts?
Well,
I think this
there-
is
Yeah,
juicy.
I think so.
there were about 8 years when I came to Sydney and studied and did all sorts of things, a lot of theatre, restaurant, and started writing. But I was running a restaurant and performing cabaret in Newtown, where a lot of Qantas people would come to drink. And it was like
And they liked drink.
It was a heaving gay bar downstairs. And then upstairs it
Wow.
was this wild like cabaret room where I started to write and perform, and had a piano player, and I do these amazing nights like Gilbert and Sullivan nights or Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy nights, and all the queens used to come. It was this wild place.
Sounds
and
incredible.
It was incredible. It was so unique. They've boarded up the doors now. It doesn't exist anymore. But it was called
now.
Oh my God, yes, yeah. Well, it was the 80s. So, and it was just beginning of AIDS as well, but it was just pre that. And it was called the Newtown Businessmen's Club. And
Wow.
I was managing it in the day. And all these businessmen would come in the day to have their meetings and stuff. And then at night time, it would turn into this wild sort of, gay. And all these businessmen started to arrive in pink Pringle jumpers and man bags.
Wow.
They all started to come out of the closet. Anyway, these fabulous
And that was their
Qantas.
safe space, I
Well,
suppose,
John
too.
Miller and all those
Yes.
fabulous guys that we knew from Qantas said, "Oh my God, you should be flying."
Wow.
And I
didn't
went-
know
that
I didn't know
was
this.
And I just
How it
went.
came about.
You used to have a language, and then they had this reprieve with the language because I didn't speak a language.
All you need is
And
personality.
I seriously, I went to this interview, and it was the 80s. I had ear furniture on. I had a leopard skin dress with shoulder pads. It was linen, clacky
High
heels.
hair.
Oh my God, the hair with that ice
Hit
mist
the
in
roof.
it.
Oh, ice mist.
So I
Bring
looked.
us back, ice
Magic.
mist.
Oh
Silver
my
whites.
God, that wouldn't be for your skin now, wouldn't it?
Skin mist.
Skin mist.
Skin gym now. It's all
Yeah, skin gym. Skin gym.
So
But
we head off to
I
Qantas.
went for this interview, and the gods
You
were
nailed it.
smiling. No, there were two that said yes and one that said no.
Oh.
This
Definitely not.
This woman who had like
jelly.
long sleeves, and she was ugly. She was in it. Anyway, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So
I love that.
and I got in,
Good
and
girl.
it was like changed my life.
In what way, though?
Well, I kept saving up to go overseas.
Right.
Because I had a scholarship when I was at Armidale at Teachers College. And when I took my gap year, I said to Mum and Dad, you don't have to support me. I'm going to support myself. So I was working like every good actress and putting myself through drama school. So I kept saving up to go overseas. And then I'd fall in love and I'd spend all the money and I'd have to start again. So Qantas, oh my God, it was like, they paid us to do that job. I mean, Nicola, it was like suddenly we would flow into these amazing countries and first class all the way. It was wonderful. Given money, but what I did...
Given money.
I know the envelope.
Well,
That was a
an
joy, wasn't
envelope
it?
of
That was
money.
spending
Into the
money, you mean,
hotel.
when you
Yeah,
landed.
you chuck-
It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
it was our allowance.
How
And it was
exciting.
and I would just, if we go to London, I would get off that plane, go straight to see a show, and then I'd do a matinee the next day.
Okay, so I've got the joining the dots here.
Yes.
So you flew to see musicals and
Oh
theatre.
my God! And it was the
Wow.
80s. So Andrew Lloyd Webber, there was Phantom of the
Everything.
Opera
Oh.
just started, Aspects of Love, all the big shows were happening. But then there were the wonderful things like Forbidden Broadway, which was in the 80s that it just started, and that was this show where they would parody all the big musicals. The most incredible thing. And I was just, oh my God, it was magic. And do you remember, Nicola, in San Francisco, there was this a show called Beach Blanket Babylon.
Yes.
And
Yes,
it
I
was
do.
the same thing. And I was
Like
like...
Fillmore, I think, might have been around.
Yes,
there.
yes. And it was like, oh my God, that was it. And so I was working, a friend of mine had a restaurant in Neutral Bay called Ducks Crossing, and we would do
remember
it.
that.
Do you remember Ducks?
Are we showing our age? I remember.
We are
I
showing
do
our
remember
age.
I
that.
saw a few
And so
shows there. Loved it.
Well, you would have seen me.
Yes, I did, yeah.
And
You're the
Qantas
star.
review there? They did do a
I
Qantas review,
I think
did
they did do a
Yeah.
few reviews
Yeah.
there.
Qantas
reviews.
reviews?
No,
No.
not there. No.
Thinking
It
Mandy
was about
Anderson.
the size of this room. It was ridiculous. And so I started writing the parody of the Broadway shows. And that just got a cult following.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but that was it. That was like, I can remember sitting at Beach Blanket Babylon and Forbidden Broadway, and those two shows did it. Bang, bang. I thought,
How
that's
wonderful.
it.
Gosh.
And, of course, I was the only one that could remember the words, so I had to perform them as well. But I had very clever
Tell us
people
about
with
some
me.
of the greatest shows and the greatest fuck-ups.
Oh, my God.
Fuck-ups.
Well, it was interesting because
They talk about live television, but literally you are live on stage. So it's, the same thing. It's how you overcome those.
Yeah, well,
fuck-ups.
look, it was interesting because flying, I met John McGuigan, the funniest man on earth, and had the most divine child on earth. And then, of course, I was pregnant with Angus. He was the miracle child because there'd been the odd ectopic pregnancy, but he was a good swimmer. And so it was like, that's it. They offered redundancy, and I thought, I'm not flying anymore, feet up. And had Angus, and the marriage didn't quite work out. So I got to the early 90s, and I thought, okay, I can't actually audition for a show because I've got a kid. I'm a single parent. But Ab Fab happened. Absolutely Fabulous happened.
One of my favourite shows.
Shows.
And
Jonah Lumley.
someone corporately
Cheers to that
asked,
one.
cheers,
Yeah,
darling,
cheers.
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 Sweetie,
Someone corporately said to me, I want you to do Patsy. So
Who? I'd love to know who that was.
do you know,
Born to
it
be
was a
Patsy.
stylist. It was a
Born to be
stylist
wild.
guy who, and he styled me, like he did the wig and dressed me up, and I went, oh my God, sweetie darling, I'm born for this. And then Nathy, I met Nathy. Nathy was on the dole, and she'd just come back from London. And she said, what are you doing? And I've got Angus, who's about 3. And we were at I remember at the old carousel at Bondi Junction. And she said to me, if ever you need an Adina, ring me. And I rang her, and that was it. We were like this, we gelled, and these characters, like we were doing political satire. Right when the impeachment was happening with Bill Clinton, we wrote, Monica Lewinsky and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was insane. So the whole thing we would write to a musical. And then I was watching Beauty and the Beast one day, and Pauline Hanson and Rose Hancock, Porteous, were on. And there was this absolute dealing with the Asian debate. And I went, oh, my God, there's a show. And so, I was playing Rose Hancock Porteous, who was this
Can you
Filipino.
do a little bit of Rose for us?
Oh, hello, darling, rub your long time, which is dreadful. Do you know, seriously, you're going to have to block that out, because I was thinking, there is no way I could do that these days.
I know, it's quite
I know.
sad.
Okay.
Like, thank
Isn't
God.
it's comedy.
It is comedy, but it's just not PC.
Oh, it's Ricky
Like, I
Gervais
couldn't do
about
half
comedy.
of my stuff.
Can you do a little bit of Patsy for us?
Oh,
then?
cheers, darling. Thanks. Well, like a drink.
Absolutely.
darling.
Cheers,
It's
cheers,
sweetie,
cheers.
darling.
Sweetie,
In fact, I
sweetie.
was trying on an outfit this morning for this wedding I'm going to.
Yes, Patsy.
And Patsy said to Adina said, darling, how do I look, sweetie? And she said, you look like a Zeppelin in a condom. And I thought, that's exactly what I look like. I look like a Zeppelin in a condom, sweetie. Sweetie.
And what about Bernadette? I like her
Oh,
too.
well.
Who's Bernadette?
Bernadette is,
still
when
trying to
I
recover
stopped
the
flying, I wrote this show called Come Fly With Me. And it was, the whole premise of the show is that your company is so fabulous. This is corporately, because I was working corporately. Your company is so fabulous, it has its own airline. So it would be Amex Air or, NAB Air or LJ Hooker Air. That'd be a whole different airline,
That's
really,
a
wouldn't
sponsor,
it?
isn't it?
Hooker Air.
Hooker out.
Hooker Air. And I would have the little costumes made and the whole thing. But in the actual show, we parodied Qantas, Jetstar and Virgin. And that was fabulous. And I played, this was sort of a bit after the Ab Fab thing. I made Bernadette a Patsy Stone type character. So she was this tragic old Qantas airline hostess called, my name's Bernadette. I'm a Qantas flight attendant and I'm an alcoholic. Which was nearly every flight attendant I knew.
Too close to home, wasn't it?
So, and the thing is,
We love
because
Bernadette.
all my
We can
darling
relate.
girlfriends,
Every
love
girlfriend's
this.
a Bernadette.
So
I know,
good.
and they would
Loves
all,
a sham.
I was always up to speed with the Qantas uniform.
You were.
I was. I had whichever one was new. And of course, the Julie Jetstar character was Magda Zabansky when Jetstar first
Right.
started.
The
So I had
ads.
this gorgeous boy that works for me still who he looks like Magda
His
Zabansky.
name?
Andrew Benson.
He's very talented.
He does the best Magda Zabansky, anything. And Susan Boyle. That's another
Susan
story.
Boyle, the
Oh
singer.
my God.
What did
divine.
she sing?
Oh, I dreamed a dream, which we parodied. Oh my God,
Terry Irwin, was that another one too?
Oh,
the
my
Irwin,
God.
because that was hysterical too.
Didn't
wasn't
I
it?
look like Terry Irwin?
You were the spinning
Scary.
image.
Oh my God! And Andrew, I made play Baby Bob,
Andrew is so adaptable.
and he just
So
looked like.
adaptable.
Well, Baby Bob is quite handsome now.
We're
but
going
he
to
was-
put photos up on Insta so
Absolutely.
they
Did you
can
ever,
relate
by the
to
way,
what
did
we're
you ever
talking
hear
about.
anything from people like Terry Irwin or
Well,
from anybody?
no.
Did you ever get any feedback?
When I was doing Terry Irwin, which I did for a fundraiser to raise money for koalas, it's the same thing like here. I thought I was doing a podcast
Yes,
here,
yes,
and then
yeah.
suddenly I'm on film. Thanks very much.
The makeup's brilliant.
Cheers, thanks a lot. Cheers, thanks a lot.
Bernadette.
So for this, we were down at Double Bay doing this fundraiser. And I'm dressed like Terry Irwin, and I've got the
As you do in
fat
Double Bay.
little Andrew playing Baby Bob with the bob, and I've just been so revolting. I think we were doing Lady Gaga, you know, oh la 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 la, and only I was saying koa la la la, koa la 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 la. Suddenly we have gone live to New York to the Irwin family. The whole Irwin family. I dived under the table and was dragging
see
Baby
her
Bob with me. Why would they do that? Like,
Well,
but I
it
did
happens.
I did look like her, didn't I?
Wow.
Oh, yes.
Incredible. Who was
But
your
she wasn't very funny.
favourite? Who was your favourite?
Oh, look,
You impersonated.
my
if you were.
favourite was Rose because she was so
can't-
naughty.
we
No, I can't do any
We'll show
Rose.
some photos later.
Show
so,
some photos.
yes, yeah.
But Princess Diana was
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
Yes.
Look
Incredible.
a bit like her still.
We were booked because Nathy was doing, she was doing Fergie, and we were doing We Hate the Windsors. We're both gay divorcees now, and I'd written this whole sort of parody, which was, how did it start? The most hideous sound I ever heard, Camilla. Camilla, Camilla, Camilla. He slept with a slag called Camilla. Oh, and then we went on the whole thing. It was a whole musical, fabulous. I think I did it in a much higher voice back then. But yeah,
Did you do? I think I saw you on the Today Show one morning.
Yeah,
doing
we-
it. Am I right at the zoo
Yeah.
or somewhere? Is that random? Was it?
That
At
could've
the
been
No,
Terry at the
that
zoo.
was Terry Irwin.
Oh,
that
it
went,
was Terry.
that went global.
No,
You
you know what
did
it
die
was? We
somewhere.
were doing Kath and Kim at
Oh,
the
I
zoo.
love Kath
Kath
and
and
Kim
Kim.
too.
Yeah, that
God,
was
there's so many.
great.
It's incredible.
Kath and Kim was incredible. We had and
You
of course,
are extraordinary.
Nathy
Really?
nailed it, and then
Yeah,
of course
very-
Andrew Benson we had playing Sharon, which was brilliant.
So
but you know,
good.
it was so hard to get Cat Day Night's voice. But when I ended up doing Julia Gillard. Julia Gillard's voice was exactly Cat Day Night's voice, but lower.
Wow, that's actually amazing.
With a double diphthong. Hello, everyone. So it's a pleasure and a privilege to be here. So that
good.
was the best.
So
Let's
good.
go.
And that was gold. I had the best time with her. But,
And how
I
did
know.
it
That's
work
incredible.
out for you with, tell us about with Richard Branson and things.
okay.
Because he's been a big
Yeah,
idol.
this is.
so
I
this
love
is-
this.
Oh,
Sorry,
share
I
that.
use this word a
Richard
lot. This is
Okay.
juicy.
Yeah.
So the biggest fuck up led to the most incredible time. This was like in around 2008. So we were doing a gig at the Powerhouse Museum for Boeing. So I had all the little Boeing uniforms made because Boeing don't have their own flight attendants, but they did because with our show. And then I had all the little red and white uniforms made, and that was fabulous. But the House of Priscilla Couture were making the waistcoats, and they had forgotten to send waistcoat costumes because I had 3 girls, 2 guys, and me. And so we had all these little lovely 60s uniforms and stuff. So the waistcoats didn't turn up. So I've rung the House of Priscilla and said, we're at the Powerhouse Museum. We're going on at 7 o'clock. Get those waistcoats over. So they, of course, were standing in front of the Australian Museum. So the kids have gone on with no waistcoats. But then one of the boys said to me, oh, Lesley, I've left my white trousers at home. And he had to go on in jeans. And I'm going, oh, my God. Then the theatre, darling. That was fine. But then we realised that Boeing had representatives from Qantas, Jetstar, Virgin, every airline you can imagine. And we were doing this massive piss take on the airlines.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going, hello, my name's Bernadette. I'm a Qantas flight attendant, I'm an alcoholic, wearing the boomerang uniform, which was naughty. Then Julie Jetstar doing jump, and the Virgin girls looked like sluts because, let's face it, back then they were. Well, he wouldn't employ anyone over 12. So we've got off stage, and it was like, sometimes it was like a bit of a not that warm a reception. Like, I think everyone else gets a bit nervous for the other people in the room, you know. Anyway, so I've gone to the team. That was the worst gig I've ever done. We were all going to the pub to get drunk, and we did. And the next day, this woman called Heather Jeffries rang me, who was the personal assistant to the CEO of Virgin, and said, oh my God, that was the best thing I've ever seen.
When you least expect it.
Especially the Virgin sluts. We love them.
Stop.
And because they all had hot pants, and then we worked for Virgin, you know. It was like full on. And she said, I want you to come up and do a gig for Richard Brandson. So we flew to Brisbane, which is where they were based, and Richard loved it. And he said, okay, we're launching V Australia here in Australia, and then we're also launching it in Hollywood. So anyway, oh my God, I had to do this. It was on Cockatoo Island, this massive stage, and like thousands and thousands of people. He lands on a helicopter with two of my girls, and we're doing all the I did all this, the drag queens and everything, but Richard Brandson wanted naked girls in Australia painted with the American flag. So we're in this little.
It was are we still in the 80s?
No,
we're in the 90s.
Oh,
the naughty.
No, it was 2008. 2008.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
So then, after, and it was
massive. That's a huge
ask. It was a massive gig. So then we've flown over to LA, Hollywood, and Richard Brandson was on the flight, but he wanted me dressed as Bernadette in the Qantas uniform.
Right.
I thought I'm going to be absolutely
in the Qantas uniform.
Hello, Qantas sponsors.
Yes.
So, and he wanted Julie Jetstar in the orange with the hat and the plaits.
That's the best.
And so we've got all these photos of us sitting on Richard Branson's knee. And then he chased me right through the aircraft. Bernadette.
I thought he got to know you quite well.
Bernadette, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'd taken the Priscilla drag queens over, and it was like, oh my God, if you know Penetration, she's a loose cannon. Penetration. Oh my God, Minnie Cooper, Penetration. I can't remember who the third one was. And so we've done the Priscilla show. You know, and then we're shearing, there's a sheep being shorn on stage, and I'd written this song because the Pussycat Dolls were big. So, don't you wish your airline was hot like V?
Oh, how brilliant.
And
so your brain.
it was so great.
Incredible.
So, and we had this wonderful... Yeah, just this one. I worked for Virgin for a long time.
What an amazing experience.
It was insane. So, yeah, the worst show ended up being this
in life.
It's a bit of a life lesson.
When you think it's the worst, and someone will walk around and go, "No, it was the best."
Yeah,
really?
I know.
Yeah.
So that was a good life lesson for me. Whenever I think something didn't go so well, I said, I'm going to get a phone call tomorrow. It'll be the best thing they've ever seen. Yeah. And so that's it. It's like,
a production of that size and that magnitude.
It's interesting because I also know with Lesley too, you've got quite a spiritual side too, haven't you?
Yeah.
Which is, I remember when I just lost my mum, and I'd buried her, and I'd spent that time in Melbourne. I was coming back I was just by myself and I was having a little tear, didn't think anyone else was around, and all of a sudden it's like an angel came and tapped me on the shoulder.
Aww.
And it was Lesley. And she said, "Oh,
Leslina.
how are you?" And you performed at my 50th birthday.
Yes.
And you were there, and then you were telling me, had you been to Bhutan or India, or what was the thing
I
you
don't-
tell us about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten
This is
about
off
this.
I
script.
remembered.
This
I
is
remembered,
off
'cause you touched
your
me,
script.
and I'll never forget that.
Fill
And
us
I-
in.
I went to India
What was this?
to do a laughter yoga course. I thought it was going to be hot. You know, we're up in the hills of, I wish I'd have written it down. Up north.
Yeah.
And
The Himalayas.
And so I've got off the plane with, 25 sarongs, and you actually needed cardigans.
A jacket,
A jacket.
Maybe a jacket.
And
yeah.
it was the most incredible thing. There were all these accents, which and I could recognise anyone. There was a French girl, and there was a guy from Ukraine. There was someone from Bahrain. So and Americans, and this one person, this woman and her wife, and I said, "I don't recognise your accent." It was like weird. Maryborough, Queensland.
No! Really? You've gone that far?
Could not understand a word she was saying.
Incredible. Maybe because you're wearing a sarong and a jacket.
What happened there?
Well, look, I did this laughter. It was a laughter yoga retreat, and it was absolutely brilliant. But I stood up. I forget the name. That he was this amazing guru that started it. He and his wife. I stood up and said, "This is really bad because laughter yoga is laughing for no reason."
Yeah,
And I said,
incredible.
"You're absolutely. I'm a comedian. You're destroying my career."
Absolutely. I was thinking that.
Oh, that's so...
Thinking for no reason, laugh.
But it's true because how it started in India, they decided that so they'd all meet in a park in India, in Bombay in our day,
yes.
and they would all start telling jokes, and everyone would laugh. And then they'd run out of jokes, and the jokes started getting bluer, and then they had to cut it. So this doctor decided that they would laugh for no reason. So you would just start laughing for no reason, and you would be
Stop laughing.
It's incredible.
But I'd also done a retreat with him like 10 days before, which was kind of a quiet, silent retreat, which, those two words don't really work for me. Quiet.
I get that.
No, I was actually quite spiritual anyway before that.
Yes.
I'd sort of
that's beautiful.
I'd had a spiritual teacher, which was
Spiritual
my
fan.
girlfriend Virginia, who was in the next door.
In your 60s, reinventing yourself.
Yeah.
Where are we now? What are you doing?
Well, of course, COVID hit, flatlined my business. I was starting to pull myself out of the... Oh, no, I wasn't. I was starting to back off. So we were there, and it was like the night of the 2016 American... Election. Thank you, darling.
Yes.
Cheers, thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Cheers, darling. Thanks a lot. The election. Yeah. So we were... I had resurrected Nathan Gaffney as Hillary Clinton. All the pantsuits were made. We're ready to rock. He got in. Trump got in. And it was that night, it was like the 7th of November or something ridiculous. That night we were performing, and the whole restaurant was like in shock, and I'm thinking, God, this is going to be a hard gig. Anyway, I said afterwards, I said, "Oh my God, Andrew, I had Hillary ready to go with the pantsuits. They're all made, and what are we going to do now?" I said, "I'm far too old for Melania Trump, and Andrew's far too short for Donald Trump." He wrote in the Sunday paper, "Get down to slide because Lesley and Andrew and Leave It to Diva will be doing the Trumps." So I went, "Oh my God, oldest Melania God ever put breath into." Oh,
Actually
my God.
saw that show. You were brilliant.
Oh, it was
Brilliant.
funny,
And
wasn't
so what
it?
did you do as a side gig? Did you...
Well, I was always producing. There was where the supplier of choice at Uluru with my Priscilla show. And the reason we're the supplier of choice is I take actors who were in Priscilla the musical, and I would, the odd fabulous drag queen would come, but the boys sang live, and they're actors, so they could interact. So it's a great show, and I've been there for about 10 years. So like once or twice a month out to Uluru, we go talk about
And
spiritual.
so you wrote it and produced the show?
Wrote it and produced it. Well, there's
Wow.
not
How
and
wonderful.
I tailor it because up there they get a lot of conferencing. So we just did this big event for Thermomix with all these fabulous women. Oh my God, they were
imagine?
300
Can
women.
they sponsor us? Bit of I don't cook, so that's
Write
Oh
it
my
down.
God,
too.
fabulous.
Also, Lesley, you multi-skilled, because I hear on the rumour that you're a marriage celebrant.
This is the
My goodness,
reinvention.
really?
Ah,
Yes.
the reinvention. Well, look, 2016, I thought gay marriage is just around the corner, and look, who would be more perfect than me to marry the gays other than Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek? So I thought, and it was hard work. You're going back to studying. I thought I'll do it in 6 weeks. It took a year to do
Really?
it.
No, it's
To be a
full on.
celebrant?
It's really full
I had
on.
no idea.
And of course, I married. My first wedding was this gorgeous girl, Greek girl, who wanted me dressed like Aphrodite, the goddess of love. So I thought, oh my God, here's me thinking I'm going to be in a gorgeous dress with a bit of makeup. I'm in drag for my first show. And then, of course,
you call it a show.
Well, it is.
Yes.
It's a show, exactly.
Sam,
The wedding
that's
show.
quite
It is a
relative.
show.
It's a wedding and it's a show, but it's Lesley.
But no,
I
don't.
love that.
Can't steal it from the bride, but
Well, you've got to write the script. You've got the lighting. You've got the music. I always spend more money on the frock than I do on the fee. So I don't know. My partner Peter said, I don't know why you bother. It's love.
I love it, darling.
I love it.
It's
So
about love.
I'm doing one in April, and they want me to do Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek.
Stop.
And I said, I'm not marrying you as Moira Rose because
How
it's
fabulous.
it will be all about me, and it needs to be about you. So that I'm going to do a blessing. But then they want two great drag queens crashing like it should have been me. So which they will.
Hold on, are you producing this?
oh,
Or
yeah,
are you
yeah. So
celebrating this?
I'm
Which
celebrating
angle?
it.
And producing.
What a life.
Don't you love it?
Well,
Celebrant
it's-
/ producer. And
Everyone gets a gig.
I love it.
Everyone
And what a
gets
lovely
it.
continuum because, getting older. Okay, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Things have
But
changed.
do you know what
I'm gonna do
happened?
something
I got
different.
to marry in the gay Mardi Gras. This gay couple got married, and they wanted me as Patsy. To marry them as Patsy Stone, and they had a whole Ab Fab, and so the first Mardi Gras,
Wow.
there I was trying to hang on as we're driving down a bottle, and that was fabulous. But they're divorced now.
Well, Salavi. But how
They're
brilliant,
not together.
Leslie. Honestly.
I know, and it was just, and it's love. I marry lots of straight people too, but I mostly marry people I like. Yeah, that's kind of reinventing.
Well, we got to
isn't
sort
it?
of think back now.
It
In your
is.
60s too, so we've sort of like one of our signature questions of what would you say to your former 20-year-old self, Lesley? if you
Well,
could turn back that
okay.
clock.
So, my 20-year-old self was leaving Armidale and moving to Sydney. My parents weren't happy about it because, they wanted us to have an education and complete stuff, and they just weren't sure what I was going to do. And so I did that, and it is like I spoke to you earlier about finding what sparks you, and you've just, just even a little tiny flicker, you've just got to head there. But, the interesting thing, I was meant to be in Armidale as well, because I lived with 4 country boys in a house in Armidale who were my brother's friends, because my brother went to boarding school in Armidale. And one of those boys in that house is the man I'm with now.
Oh, MG.
Oh, that's incredible.
Isn't that
a real
incredible?
cycle of
That's
life
actually
and on a
remarkable.
circle.
I never knew that.
No, Peter, beautiful
That's
Peter.
incredible.
Your partner now, so
And-
here you are in your
Wow.
60s and happy with
And
a partner.
I turned 60, and that was it. We've been together that time now. So
Unbelievable.
when we flatlined, business flatlined during COVID, he said, come on, let's move to the farm. He's got a farm at Walker, the widow of Olga, not me. That happened the week before. I'm going, oh God, where are you bringing me? Deliverance. Like 2,000 acres, what I don't know about. It was like Eva Gabor in Green Acres. Darling, I love you, but
chicken.
That's it. Yeah. Chickens, cows, bloody peacock, guinea fowl. Oh
Listen,
my God.
you, Lesley, with gumboots.
Oh, no.
The slingbacks are gone.
Well, now Peter thinks we live up there and visit Sydney. I go, no. We live in Sydney.
But
we do spend a lot of time.
Let's get that straight.
We've
we
got
Sydney, we visit the country.
I know. We've got the best of both worlds. So
okay.
my 20-year-old self, like, it's full circle. You know, it's just, but you've got to follow your dream. And I say that to Angus. I said, just whatever sparks you, just try everything.
Imagine she became a teacher and went down that road.
But
but
you're a teacher now. Your whole life
Yeah.
has been teaching in different forms.
Yeah, I guess.
It's on stage.
In a way.
Well,
Next question.
You've also was it from the country to the city here that drives 5 hours? What podcast do you listen to?
Oh my
that's
God,
a good
it'll
one.
be over
That's
the
a goodie.
fence, darling. It'll be over the fence. I've just listened to Prince Harry's Spare.
I love what do you
Audible.
Your audio.
Have you got the Audible on that one?
And
no,
I
you
normally
bought the
listen
book.
to-
Normally
yeah.
she,
How
but
are
you
you
actually
finding
bought
it?
it.
Well, he's actually reading it, which is quite interesting. I know that it was ghostwritten for him, and I know there are probably a lot of big words that Harry wouldn't have used normally. And he can't say TH, so he could say.
What can he say?
Deaf, he says deaf.
Oh,
Deaf.
stop it.
Oh, it just can't say both. He says both. And
Have the
deaf.
Queen's English.
Has he got the Queen's English?
I think the book's looking good.
Granny would not be
Turning
pleased.
the pages. No, it wouldn't be terrible.
And look, I actually listened to it once, for quite a bit of it when Peter wasn't in the car, so I had to re-listen to it and it'd kill me now. So it was a bit spare me rather than spare.
But someone that's done parody with the Royals.
Oh, that's so
But I do.
Fabulous.
I know.
Insight.
I know. And
To what
look, the book is
went
about
on
grief.
with life.
It's about him grieving for his mum.
Yeah,
She
I
died
believe
when
that.
he was 12.
I truly
and
believe
it's
that.
Yeah, I do too.
absolutely
Yeah.
grief.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
honestly, he's happy.
Well, we've got our famous last question.
Our last
Did you want to say
question.
it, Dottie?
Okie dokie doodly doo.
We love you.
Leslina. Okay.
You're the only person that calls me.
I
love
know.
that.
Sometimes
Leslina.
I call Nicowick.
Nick-
Where does that come from? I don't know.
Where does it?
Little knickers.
I think
Knickers.
Poor Knickers. Most beautiful name, and I destroy it with Nicowick. Leslina, if you had a choice of anyone in the world to meet at the back fence, who would that be and why?
Well,
It's a biggie.
It is a biggie
Yeah.
because there's a million.
Yeah.
And it was like,
I bet.
quite often you talk about who you'd have at a dinner party, but what just came through for me is Olena Zelenska. She's married to the president of Ukraine.
What support she's been for him
Can
in the last few
you
years.
imagine? Like,
No.
she married an actor. He was starring in a TV show as the president, and suddenly she's the first lady. And so she has this, and then there's a war in Ukraine. And
Let's throw that in.
she has stayed there in Kiev with the children. So she could have gone anywhere, but she chose to stay. And the work that she does, she works a lot with refugee children, especially refugee children with illnesses that need to, having cancer treatment and stuff. And she's got the big red dot on her, like she's the number 2 target.
Wow.
But she...
You don't hear about this in the
don't.
media.
No, you don't.
No,
And
that's
she's
wow.
the most beautiful looking girl. She's blonde and just gorgeous. And she's an accomplished urban architect.
Wow.
And she has a music degree and she is a screenwriter, which I'm not sure if that's where she actually met.
Could you Google that for us?
Yes,
Google that for us, darling. Google that for us, darling.
Sweetie, darling.
But-
Thank
Straight to
you.
Ukraine.
So she is a music graduate as well.
Oh, gosh.
And
What a neighbour. What a
But
back fence.
dear.
how divine. What stories? What?
Would you have a little champagne or a little cup of
Oh,
tea or
darling,
your
that'd
body?
Sorry, I'm just
we wouldn't be
adjusting.
drinking vodka.
I'm just adjusting my
Bloody
glass
Russian.
here.
You know, you really are just such a.
Can
it's
we
like you
Google
spark joy.
Leslie?
Oh no!
You are
boring.
Yeah, Google her.
Oh,
Leslie
no,
Hancock.
no, I don't.
Everybody
No,
Google
no,
her.
no.
But thank
We
you
love
so
I only
much.
like
Yeah.
being in a wig.
It's incredible life, and I'm excited for the next 20, 30, 40, 50
Yes.
years that you because you're a giver.
I'm
and
still
you're an
working.
entertainer.
I'm still working. Hong Kong's opened up again. I have the most, just before we
Yes,
finish,
yeah.
I have the most incredible client up there, and I've been doing big productions with him for a long time. But it all closed down with the yellow umbrellas, you know, with all the political unrest.
true,
Oh,
yes.
there was a whole show there. I was going to do Rihanna.
She'll end up in a box in over the border.
I know.
I'm a bit worried about you.
And then, of
Leslie.
course, COVID. But Silvio rang me last week and said, darling, he's Swiss Italian, darling, I need you. And so we're doing this big cancer. It's the
That's way
cancer
up there.
fund. It's a Hong Kong Cancer
honestly.
Fund. And for 600 people.
We're going to do the show from the show.
602.
Oh, my God.
We will go
Yeah.
up there.
Seriously.
Let us
And
know.
the theme is rock baroque. So we're doing we will baroque you.
We will rock you.
Chat show,
I'm
everybody.
loving it.
And thank you for
Thank you,
joining
Leslie.
us.
Just
Yeah.
pure joy. I love you.
Yeah. Ciao, ciao, everyone. Bye-bye.